Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain, and today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite games from KOSMOS. So now, KOSMOS, also known as Thames and KOSMOS, if you're not familiar, is one of the biggest board game publishers in Europe. They do tons of games over there. They used to contract with other companies to bring their games over to the US, though now they have started bringing over their games here personally on a much larger basis. In addition, they bring a lot of games from here and from Asia over to Europe, which is really cool. So they have published tons of games in their time as a board game publisher. In fact, there were some on my list that I was very surprised to find out were games they had published that I'm a big fan of, because over here they're not published by them, they're published by another company. But before we get into this list, I do want to say there are tons of links down in the description. There's a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to help out the channel. There's a link to my Teespring store if you'd like to get yourself some cool gamer gear, t-shirts and mugs. And there's also a link to BoardGameCaptain.com. So feel free to check out those links at your leisure. And without any further ado, let's jump into my top 10 favorite KOSMOS games. Number 10. My number 10 favorite KOSMOS game is Adventure Games The Dungeon. So the Adventure Games series is a newer series by KOSMOS where they are definitely inspired by the whole escape room genre, except these are meant to be replayable, and they have multiple paths to the victory, so you can play them multiple times, and if you put them back on the shelf and let them sit there for a while, they are something you could pull out once you've forgotten all of the choices and play them again, unlike the general escape room games, which usually you have to destroy components during play and therefore are not replayable. The Adventure Games The Dungeon in particular is got a fantasy, medieval fantasy style theme to it. And then you move around from card to card. The cards are the rooms. They have numbers on them. So if you want to investigate something, you draw the particular number card to look at it and try to figure out what to do. And then there are different options based on what you choose to do. And also items you can find. And you'll have the cards. It's all card-based. This is a really cool system, and this game is a really cool implementation of that system. It's a lot of fun. It's one I was sent to review a while back, and Lynn and I gave it positive scores. We quite liked it, and in fact we were talking about, now that it's been a while since our last play, we were wanting to pull it out and play it again, and that is Adventure Games The Dungeon, which is my number 10 favorite KOSMOS game. Number 9. My number 9 favorite KOSMOS game is a classic of their two-player games line. KOSMOS puts out a lot of these small box two-player card and small board games, and this one is somewhere between the two, between a card game and a small board game, because there is a small board involved, though it's mainly a placeholder, and this game is Lost Cities. This game is fantastic if you've never played it. Really good two-player pub or coffee house style game that involves you set collecting and trying to build up these archaeological expeditions that you have to do in numerical order, but they have to be in ascending order, but you don't have to get every number card. Each of your expeditions starts at negative 20 points, so you want to slowly build up and get as many of the cards in there as possible so you can beat that point deficit, because you need it to be worth more than 20 points to actually be able to score points at the end of the round. Though if you're able to get handshake cards in, which are 0 cards, they will multiply the value of the expedition. So you only want to do them if you're sure you can get the expedition into a positive numerical value. This is a really cool game. It's very colorful. The artwork is really nice. The cards are great. And the playstyle is tons of fun. It's an actual gaming classic at this point. And that is why Lost Cities made it to my number 9 favorite KOSMOS game. Number 8. My number 8 favorite KOSMOS game is a fully cooperative game called The Liberation of Reitberg. Now, The Liberation of Reitberg is one of the games in the series of Andor games. There are a bunch of games that take place in the world of Andor that KOSMOS has been putting out. This is the only one of them I have tried, though. So I don't fully know how it relates to the other games, but I had been sent this one to review a while back, and I can be a little hit or miss with cooperative games. But this one was a hit for me. And it was a hit for several reasons. So the thing is, the different characters have asymmetrical player powers. They each play differently, and you have the powers are in your hand of cards, so they're hidden from the other players. So it really does a good job at stopping players from falling into the trap of alpha gaming, which I think is a very important thing to do when you're doing a cooperative game. In addition, the game is just really fun. You're defending this castle, and there are different decks of cards out there that represent these monsters that are attacking the castle. And you have to defeat the monsters. You have to fend them off and defend the castle, the castle of Reitberg. And in fighting off the monsters, you beat them, and you get to keep their cards as trophies. They're worth points later, and also you get to find items that you can use in some of your fights. So the Liberation of Reitberg is a really, really good cooperative game. It's one I'm a big fan of, and that's why it made it down to my number 8 favorite KOSMOS game. Number 7. My number 7 favorite KOSMOS game is another one of the adventure games. It is Monochrome Inc. So now the system is similar, but not exactly the same, and the theme is totally different, as you're working off a theme of being people trying to infiltrate a company, doing corporate espionage. But you find out the company is up to all sorts of nefarious, bizarre experimentation in their building. It's got kind of like a light sci-fi theme, but also just this kind of, like I say, an espionage type theme to it. I felt that the implementation of the adventure game system in this game was much better than the implementation in the dungeon, which I already liked quite a bit. And that's why the adventure games Monochrome Inc. made it all the way down to my number 7 on my top 10 favorite KOSMOS games. Number 6. My number 6 favorite KOSMOS game is one that was designed by Marcello Bertocci, who's normally puts his own games out under his company's name, XV Games, over in Italy. But this was one that he thought he couldn't really produce under his company, and instead he sold it to KOSMOS. This is an abstract tile-laying game, and every turn you're able to move one of the tiles and place a tile. And what's very interesting about this is the tiles will have pictures of these various sea creatures in them of different colors. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to group, one player is trying to group like sea creatures together, and the other player, though, is trying to group like colors together. So you have to be really careful and notice the patterns, because sometimes doing something that helps you may also help your opponent. You want to group, if you're playing the sea creatures, you want to group the like sea creatures together without grouping the like colors together into big patterns and big groups, and vice versa. This game is actually really brilliant and a hell of a brain burner. Very interesting game. If you haven't checked out Aqualin, I highly recommend it, and it's why it made it all the way down to my number 6 favorite KOSMOS game. Number 5. My number 5 favorite KOSMOS game is one that I was surprised I didn't know KOSMOS published this game over in Europe, because here in the United States it is not published by them. It's published by other companies. And this game is Kodama. Now, Kodama is a game where you are tree spirits and you're trying to grow out a tree. It plays out as a card-laying game where you play the cards overlapping to make the branches look like they are properly growing out of the tree. And what you're trying to do is pattern form, build connections through the tree branches of the same symbols from branch to branch. The more that they connect on with, the more points they're worth when you play them. And at the end of every season, after doing a few card plays, you're able to play a card which can gain you bonus points based on lengths of branches or numbers of symbols or things that you have out there. The symbols are things like glowworms and caterpillars, fireflies, stars, clouds, mushrooms, things like that, flowers. Each of you picks a trunk at the beginning of the game which has one of the symbols on it. And to start with, you really want to go for drafting cards with that same symbol. But later on, you can use other symbols as well, especially if you wind up having goal cards to use at the ends of each season. That might help you with symbols other than your own. Kodama is a really fantastic game. It's one that we've had for years and still hits the table. Lynn and I are big fans of it, and it's why Kodama made it all the way down to my number 5 favorite KOSMOS Game. Number 4. My number 4 favorite KOSMOS game is a much bigger game. This is a big worker placement game based on the novel Pillars of the Earth, which I have never personally read, but I have played the game tons, and the game is awesome. It is an old school style worker placement game. When I say old school style, I mean it is the type where you place the workers all out, and then once you are done, in order, because these spaces are numbered, you resolve their effects. Unlike the newer styles, usually you place and you get an effect right away. But this older style does still pop up from time to time, and it is really cool. It still works, and even though the newer style has mostly replaced it, this is a really fun game. It's also got a rondel and a really cool three-dimensional cathedral that you slowly build through the course of the game that is done as a way to keep track of turns. When the cathedral is fully built, the game ends. This is an awesome worker placement game. It's definitely one of my favorites, and it's why Pillars of the Earth made it all the way down to my number 4 favorite KOSMOS game. Number 3. My number 3 KOSMOS game, some people might think of as a cheat. I really don't, though. Let me explain. It is Exit the Game. Now, I know Exit the Game is a whole series of games, kind of, but I really feel like Exit the Game is one game with just a bunch of modules, because these are escape room games. Each one is a single play because you have to destroy components and then you can never play it again. I feel like they all use basically the same system where you're solving puzzles, you're using cards for hints and also for the solutions to the puzzles, etc. And you use all of them have that cool wheel design that you use to spin around to find the right, when you think you've found the answer to the puzzle, it tells you what card to draw, and the card either says, yes, this is the right answer, here's what you do next, or no, it's wrong. They all use that same basic system, and they live or die by it. Now, there was one exception to my loving of this series, and I do love this series. I'm not going to name it specifically, but if you have watched my reviews on it, you know which one I was rather negative on. But generally speaking, the vast majority of these I've been quite positive on, and at some point while I've been talking about it, I'm sure I've put up a few pictures of my favorite episodes of Exit the Game on the screen. So any of the ones I've shown pictures of, those are ones I highly recommend if you want to check out a really cool escape room game. They're very affordable, one use only, but again, because they're affordable, it's not bad. You get one, it makes for a really great and entertaining evening. Lynn has said to me that she will play any Exit the Game to be named later because of how much she loves the series as well. These are a lot of fun, and if you want to try out escape room games, I highly recommend the Exit the Game series as a great starting point, a great place to first try escape room games. They're a good barometer to compare all other escape room games to. And that is why the Exit the Game has made it to my number 3 favorite KOSMOS game. Number 2. My number 2 favorite KOSMOS game is World Without End. Now, this game is the sequel game to Pillars of the Earth, which is also on my list. And it is the sequel game because it is based on the sequel book to Pillars of the Earth. This game is fantastic. So it's a bit more diverse in its mechanics than Pillars of the Earth, which is why I like it a little bit better. Pillars of the Earth is just a worker placement game, whereas this one has some worker placement. It has a whole lot of hand management. It has some action selection, and it has a whole plethora of Eurogame mechanics in it, resource management and bidding and all sorts of different things. And a big rondel. The rondel is awesome in this game. The biggest mechanic, though, is the action selection from your hand management. You have a hand of cards. The cards have different actions, and every turn you have to pick one to play. You're not going to get to play them all. I think you can only play half of the cards, so you have to play one and discard one, and figure out what your strategy is going to be for this whole round. Then you get to draw the cards back up and go again. This is a fantastic game. World Without End has never failed to be an awesome experience when it hits the table, and that is why World Without End is my number 2 favorite KOSMOS. And now it is time for number 1. So if you are a regular viewer of my channel and you know what my favorite games are, especially if you watched the last time we had done our top 100 games of all time list, which we are planning to redo it sometime in the future because it's now been a few years, you may know what my number one is already because it is always in my top 5 favorite games of all time, and it is a game that is published by KOSMOS, and that is Catan Starfarers, originally released under Starfarers of Catan. But this is a game that I have loved since its initial release way back in like the year 2000, around there. This game is absolutely fantastic. It is still my hands down favorite iteration of Catan. It definitely solves all of the issues I ever have with any other versions of Catan while making it head and shoulders above all other versions. It is a really fantastic game, and the newest version, Catan Starfarers, is even better than the old Starfarers of Catan, the older edition. They made some more improvements on top of the older edition. I think it thoroughly holds up, and it's really fantastic. Great economic, great empire building, great trading, and just overall fantastic game. I cannot gush about Catan Starfarers enough. I love this game so much. And I have never had anyone disagree with me when I introduced this game to them. Everybody's always like, this game is fantastic. How did I never play it back in the day? And I'm always like, I don't know. How did you never play it back in the day? So yeah, so there you go. That is my top 10 favorite games from KOSMOS Games. Or Thames and KOSMOS. There you have it. If you have any really great games that you love from KOSMOS that I didn't mention, feel free to put them in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of my choices in the comments down below as well. And if you enjoyed this top 10 list and you'd like to see me do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on. You need to behave. You need to behave. You're being so rambunctious. You're such a rambunctious puppy. You sure? What you doing? You're being crazy. I'll play with you in a minute, but could you wait for me to finish my video? What do you say? Is it a deal? I'll play with you a whole bunch. Play with you a whole bunch. You just gotta wait for me to finish my video, okay?